Welcome to Saving Us, where we discuss relationships in marriage, family, and beyond. Relationships are hard work and should be a priority. These discussions are here to help you navigate the waters of insecurity and frustration and hopefully guide you to a place of peaceful fulfillment in your own relationships. Welcome to episode 7 of Saving Us. I am your host, Deetra, and this is my co-host,
Michael.
And we are here today to talk about finding the true love of your life. In this episode, we're discussing finding the love of your life. Is there someone for everyone? Or is that even a thing? Is there one specific person for you? And when you find someone, how do you know this person is the one? Or does that even matter?
Does it matter?
All right, let's get into it. All right, let's answer the first question. Is there one person out there that's meant to be your one true love?
Is there somebody out there that's meant to be your one true love?
What do you think? Yes. Is there somebody predestined, as we were talking about earlier?
Right.
Predestined to be our one true love.
I think it's hard to say that there's somebody that's predestined to be your one true love. As much as I believe in love, I'm a person who loves all the Disney movies.
Yes.
I love love at first sight and, seeing somebody across the room and all that kind of stuff.
You do. It's true. It's true.
I watch all those movies. But as much as I believe in that and want to believe that there is someone for everybody, I think it's hard to say that there is. Because you see so many people who on the outside are not a match, or people you never would have thought would be together, or people who have been in relationship after relationship and even marriage after marriage, and all of a sudden one clicks and they're together.
Well, couldn't you just say that the one they click with is their one true love that they were meant to be with, but they just didn't know it at first?
Well, you could. I guess you're right. That's a good point. But
now listen, we're not experts, so we don't know. We're just giving our opinion.
Right.
Just for entertainment purposes only.
Right.
Okay, so, well, you have to think like this too, and maybe this is dumb, but what if your one true love lives on the other side of the world?
Right. Exactly.
But we do know a couple who got together and they lived on opposite sides of the world.
That's right.
And now they're married. So it's not impossible to find somebody if that's who you're supposed to be with or meant to be with.
Right. That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, it is, right?
Yeah.
So for us more practical people, not our hopeless romantics out there, what if the person you're meant to be with is just a type of person, like a certain personality type? Instead of saying, and all the how many billion people are there?
Almost 8 billion people on the planet.
Almost 8 billion people on the planet. Instead of just having one person meant for you out of 8 billion people, perhaps there are several people that could be your true love because they have certain characteristics.
Right. They're a type.
That could be. That's less romantic, but
right. That is a little less romantic.
Less romantic, but maybe that's it. We don't know. These are good discussion points to bring up when you have friends over or something like that in your social groups. All right. So what are your non-negotiables? So this is what we're talking about. Like if you want to get in a relationship or are in a relationship and trying to, think, is this going somewhere? Is it serious?
Is this the one?
Is this the one? Yeah. Think about these things. What are your non-negotiables in your relationship?
You should have that, right.
Okay. So some would say, okay, so this is, if you're in the Christian world, to be unequally yoked with somebody.
Yeah, we Christians have a phrase.
Is that a non-negotiable? And what does that mean, to be unequally yoked? So what, he said he don't want me to call him pastor, but he really is a pastor. So what do you think that means?
Okay, I can take that out.
Don't take it out. That's who you are. What does that mean to you, to be unequally yoked?
So to be unequally yoked, I think it starts with your core values. What the things that you believe, and if the other person is on the opposite end of the spectrum,
right?
Than you. for example, when you talk about faith, I mean, faith is a big one, you know, one of the big things. So if you have a certain faith, you know, if you're a Christian and the other person's an atheist or they're Hindu.
that would be.
And one person's Hindu, one person is Muslim. You know, then I think that you're not yoked together.
Not yoked. We had an opportunity to go to India last summer. It's been a whole year. Last summer. And so that was the first time I actually saw in person oxen yoked together.
Right.
So these two oxen, they had a lot of fields, you know, rice fields over there. And the oxen were side by side and they had the wooden yoke on each one. And so they were moving in the same direction. So that's what it means to be yoked, is to be connected to somebody else and moving in the same direction. So if you're yoked to someone, it's impossible to go in opposite directions.
Right.
Well, for those animals yoked to get together, it would be impossible for them to go in separate directions. So, I mean, it would be impossible for them to go in separate directions. Yeah. So, you're saying if you're unequally yoked, that means you're going in separate directions. So how could that even be somebody that you are in a serious relationship with?
Yeah.
If you're going in opposite directions.
And I think it brings up a good point. I mean, that's a great illustration, because to me now, if you're unequally yoked, that means you're still yoked together. So you're in a relationship, you're in a marriage, whatever it is. But you take those oxen, for example, and you know, one is yoked and they're kind of up 3 steps ahead and another's kind of behind, and you're not going in the same direction, but there's always a struggle. You know, there's always a fight to pull to this direction, and then you get pulled back to that direction. And the other thing that happens is neither one accomplishes your purpose.
Right.
You know, because you're always pulled one way or the other. It's always strife, always struggling, always, you know, that pull, that tug of war back and forth. I think that's a way to know that you're unequally
yoked. Yeah, if you're always in a struggle like that.
Yeah.
That's
just
true.
Always struggling.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going. All right, these are just discussion topics. Non-negotiable. I have race or ethnicity. So do you have non-negotiables about dating someone outside of your race or someone inside of your race? Maybe you want to date only people outside of your race, or even if you are of the same race, maybe a different ethnicity. So maybe an African says they don't want to marry or be in a relationship with an African American, same race, just different ethnicities, or a Caribbean person, or you know, Scottish and Irish, or you know, whatever. So is that a non-negotiable for you? Or socioeconomic status is another one to think of.
You know, you said that. I was just going to mention real quick. I won't mention where, but I was in another country talking to a young lady, and it was kind of what you said about being the opposite in terms of race. She said, "I'm not marrying
in her
someone.
Own race.
Yeah, I'm marrying a foreigner." That was like her whole goal in life.
Her goal was to marry a foreigner.
Yes. Yeah, and it wasn't just about economics. It was that was just what she wanted to do. You know, that was her non-negotiable, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, didn't make sense to me, but
And people have
we're all different
reasons for making the choices they make. So
right.
whoever you are, you have to sort out why you're doing whatever you're doing, or, you know, why you have a preference for certain things. Okay, about socioeconomics, what do you think? Is that a good non-negotiable? Or maybe maybe we shouldn't say it's good or bad.
Right, yeah.
Just do you know yourself enough to know that this is a non-negotiable?
Right. And you're right. That's absolutely legit, because I think that if you, for example, if you're in money, your wealth, you know, you have wealth or whatever it is, you come from money, and that's kind of what you're used to, and you marry somebody outside of that based on how good they look and how they treat you, sooner or later, you know, you're going to come to this point of money.
Yes.
You know, and how we do things.
Yes.
And that person may say, well, why are you spending so much money? You know, and you're saying, well, I got it. And it's like, yes, but you know, it's a principle and it's a value. Why are you overspending for this and that? And it could cause a lot of arguments and grief. You know, so I think it's legit that that's something you should think about. And, you know, if you're willing to say, okay, well, I can live a different way. Even though I have money, I don't have to live like I have money. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If you're willing to do that. Mm-hmm. Or if the other person's willing to say, well, I know I don't come from money, but I'm willing to swallow my pride and, accept your help or whatever when it comes to money.
Right. Yeah. You know what? Because people who are raised without a lot of money sometimes are afraid to go into the different world, a different economic status,
right?
Because they're unfamiliar with it, so they figure they don't know how to maneuver on that different level. So that's something to be self-aware about too. Yeah. What do you think about money? Do you want to be in relationship with somebody whose economic status has been different from yours? And how will you maneuver that together?
And it's something to think about. I think because I think sometimes people don't think about that because it's just love. They look so good, and whatever. Maybe they treat me well, but if you're looking for a long-term relationship, I think it's something to consider. Mm-hmm. You have to write down what you believe,
what's important to you.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's important to you.
Okay, so these are more things to consider when you are trying to be in a relationship or looking for a relationship. What are you looking for? What type of person? What personality type?
Yeah, and these are things you should think about ahead of time. Don't wait till you get into a relationship.
Wait till you meet somebody.
And then and then start thinking, what are my core values?
What am I looking for? Right.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us sometimes just go out, and you meet somebody randomly. You don't think about this stuff ahead of time. But then when you meet them and you get to know them, you decide, I don't like them for whatever reason. But you don't think deeper about the situation. What do I like about people in general?
Right.
What kind of people do I have a tendency to get along with? The most fun for me or help me to be the most relaxed. What kind of people in general am I attracted to? So that's good to know about yourself.
Right.
What kind of personality type do you like? Like, if you are attracted to somebody who makes you laugh, you might want to take into consideration that if they are the life of the party, what makes them the life of the party? Because are they the life of the party because they are quick with their tongue and they are kind of cutting, but you've never noticed that because it's never been directed toward you,
right?
But you laugh at situations, even if it's not personal, like they're not gossips about, somebody in your social group. Maybe it's just something you see on social media, like, oh, that person looks goofy, and they just have something to say like that. You have to think about, okay, will I be on the other end of that tongue sometimes if I'm close to them, because you'll probably give them a situation to talk about if you're in a relationship. So absolutely. Is that something that you could handle, kind of thinking about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, right. I think these are things, as you're going through this list, you probably it'd be good to write down. You know what I mean? Write down what your core values are. Write down what you're looking for, and be even specific. Even if all of those aren't met, but you have to decide in yourself. What am I willing to, you can write down, am I looking for somebody that's 6'1", curly hair, this shade of skin, this personality, this sense of humor, all that, you know, as much as you can. And all of that may not be met, but it's up to you what you're willing to negotiate.
Yeah. What are non-negotiables and what are
right, and what are negotiables.
Yep. Okay, how about the job status
of
the person? Okay, so this is depending on your age. So if you're young, you're 18 or in your 20s and you're looking for love, you probably shouldn't expect your significant other to be the manager, the senior vice president of whatever department, or the president of, they probably have an entry level position at wherever they're working. So unless they're working at, fast food, they might be the manager.
That's right.
And that's okay. And that's okay, because if you can run a restaurant, you can run other businesses. So there's nothing wrong with that. But just be realistic, in people's job status. But don't look down on people who are working, because some people don't want to work.
Come on now.
You
better say it.
Some people don't want to work.
Some people don't want to work, yeah.
So if somebody is working and they're diligent in what they're doing, I think that's something to be applauded. So I think it's noteworthy, at least. You
Yeah.
know, don't look down on them.
Well, yeah, it's true. I had a good friend when I was a teenager. We went to school together and all that, and got out of school, and he worked for, I think he worked for Long John Silver, and then he worked for Long John Silver's, and then he worked for Wendy's, and then Burger King, and it was kind of like, man, this brother, just going with fast food, and all of a sudden he became the manager at Burger King, and we still kind of laughed at him. It's like, well, you the manager at Burger King, you got the keys to the Burger King,
Right.
Do you know today?
He probably owns a Burger
this,
King.
right? He's like a high level executive.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
You work your way up.
You work your way up. He hasn't touched a fast food restaurant. He works at the corporation, the corporate. So yeah, I think it just depends.
Yeah.
If they're willing to work,
Right.
Could be a good quality.
The work ethic
is
more important than the type of job that they have.
Yes.
Because you could be whatever. You could haul trash, right? But then you could have a good work ethic and be raised trash owner and monopolize the whole city.
Right.
And
right.
making money just picking up trash. So
Yep.
that's something to think of. All right. Also, are you looking for a person of a certain spiritual maturity?
Right.
Or not? Or not? Because some people are like, I don't want somebody whose goal is to be a pastor.
Right.
Or an elder in the church or whatever.
Yeah.
I just want somebody who loves God and is a regular person, a regular attendee, something like that.
Right.
Which doesn't mean that you're on a lower spiritual status, but there are others who are like, I want to marry somebody whose goal is to be a leader in the church or a leader in whatever spiritual belief that they have. So you have anything?
Yeah. Well, I think that with spirituality, I think what you hit it right on the head. But I think that's also a value system there that I think you have to consider. Even if you're if you're both Hindu or you're both Muslim or you're both Christian, which is what we know, obviously, two Christians can still see, we look at that unequally yoked as you're a Christian and a non-Christian. But I think there's cases where even two Christians
are unequal.
Can be unequally yoked.
Sure.
I mean, like you said, what are you trying to do?
Right.
I'm trying to be in the workplace, and I'm just trying to be a good person and live my best life now. But I'm not tied to. My whole life is consumed with religiosity. Right. If that makes sense. But another person, that's all they want to do.
Right.
They going to church 4 days a week. They trying to watch it on TV, every other day, and all their podcasts are that, and so that can
rub people the wrong way. And he's talking about me and code, but
I am not.
But you said that can rub people the wrong way, yes. And we're not saying that one is better than the other. It's just to be aware of what you're looking for.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just be aware of what you're looking for.
Well, I think we're all made, I believe in creation. You may not if you're listening to this, but I believe that we were all created, and I think we're all created to be who we are.
Right.
And so obviously we have to grow and change and get better with our thought life and our hearts, but who we are created to be, that's who we are. So I think that's who you have to think about when you I don't know if you're going to talk about this, but when you talk about that old adage of I'm gonna try to change this person, we're gonna get together. Right. They look good. I don't like these things about them, but I'm gonna change them.
Right.
And it's like, no,
that's never a good idea.
It's never a good idea. It's never a good idea. So I think even with spirituality, you have to think about that. You may not be able to change them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Into what you want them to be.
Right. For sure.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. That's the work of God to do changing.
Right, exactly.
To do the changing. Are you looking for somebody who's single now? We hope you are.
You shouldn't even have to ask this question, but it's a necessary question.
It's a necessary question because, sometimes I've heard that people look for somebody who is already in a relationship because then they don't have to be too attached, or they don't have to. They have less expectation, I guess, from the relationship. But if you're that kind of person, who is looking to be with somebody who is already in the relationship, ask yourself why.
Yeah.
Why do you don't feel like you deserve or want, I shouldn't say deserve, but maybe want to be in a relationship with somebody who is free to be in a relationship with you? Because that says something, it suggests something about how you feel about yourself.
Exactly.
If you're searching for somebody who is already in a relationship with somebody else.
Yeah, where's your self-esteem? I mean, I think that you're right. That says something about you. You need to look in the mirror and figure out, do I love myself?
Right. What is your motivation behind that?
Right.
Because whenever we're in a relationship, we have to remember that it's not just the two of us. It's our friends and our family. And everybody is affected, if we're in a serious relationship. So.
Right.
That's true for the other person in the relationship too. So
right.
It affects their friends and their family, not just them. So
one of the things I will say, and I know we're not really, we're saying we're not relationship experts. We just happen to be in a relationship for a long time,
right?
And and been through a lot of ups and downs. And but having said that, I will say this: that whoever's listening, you deserve to have someone pay attention to you and you only. A lot of people with what you're talking about, and I'm going to try to find somebody who's in a relationship, and that way, the expectations are not there. It does say something about you. And I think the first thing before you get in any relationship is you have to understand you deserve someone who's going to pay attention to you and not share you. I mean, that's just, I'm just going to say that. I know we're not an expert, but I'm going to say that.
Yeah, good. That's good. Yeah. Are you looking for somebody who is heterosexual? We are heterosexual, but you might not be. If you're listening to this, maybe you are not heterosexual. Maybe you are homosexual. What kind of person are you looking for, and why? Why is that important?
Why is always the question.
Yes,
I think
that is always the question.
Yeah.
What are you looking for? So it's good to be open about those things: heterosexuality, homosexuality, because I tell you, more than a person's sexuality is the deception that affects the relationship more if you're not open and upfront about who you are sexually. So, yeah. All right. Other things to consider. Can your significant other have children? Or do you just want somebody who does not have children?
Yeah, kids. Something to think about ahead. Again, think about that ahead of time before. Now, it's not that you can't change your mind or someone can't change your mind, when you're in a relationship. But it's always good to at least know yourself.
Right.
Know yourself before you get into a relationship.
Right. So consider that. Are you mature enough to be in a relationship with somebody who has children? Because you're starting off with having to share that person.
Yeah, you're talking
in an
about
intimate
already.
way. If they have children or they have children, you're going to start that relationship sharing each other personally, intimately,
Decide,
with other people.
Are you willing to do that?
And also, if a person does have children, what ages are you able to commit to? Because some ages are easier for some people to deal with than others.
Right.
But as you get to know the child and know the person, of course, the child's going to grow up into different stages and different ages. Because you know them, you'll be able to, stay in relationship with them.
Right.
But when you're just getting to know somebody, if you know that you don't like toddlers, probably don't get in a relationship with somebody who has toddlers. You're like,
but he looks so good.
Yeah, but you probably not gonna want to, potty train or you know what I'm saying, or deal with that's mine, that kind of thing.
Right. All that you got to think about.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, this is good. Think about your education status and the education level of the person you're getting into relationship with.
That is a good one.
Are you going to be able to have conversations on the same level? Because you've had similar experiences in the education realm. Now, that sometimes it could be that you both have bachelor's degrees or master's degrees. but maybe one person is a research scientist and the other person is an artist,
yeah, right.
you know, or business person, something that's not, you know, not the same. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe you are able to have some similar conversations, but you won't know what the other person's talking about other than that. But you should be able to bring that other person into your world at some level,
right,
and help them to appreciate, you know, whatever you do, and then they can appreciate,
right,
whatever they do.
Yeah. Will you? What's the word I'm looking for? Will you? I don't want to say despise, but you know, will you? I'll use that for lack of a better word. Will you despise the other person for their education level? You know, if they have a doctorate degree and you never finished college, you took one semester and that was it, and they, you know, use different words, and at first it was cute and it was attractive, but once you're in your relationship, that's how they talk all the time,
right?
You know, are you going to despise that person?
Yes,
for that?
And really, that it sounds, well, from your scenario that you're just saying, it sounds like you'll be a little jealous, you know,
right,
of that other person because you don't have that same education level. That can be a real irritant.
Yes.
In a relationship.
I knew a couple one time that the guy had a master's degree, and also his talk. He was an engineer, and he talked that way. You know, he talked about you know, degradation of service and whatever. But his whole conversation was kind of that way.
Yeah.
And she was not. So I'd be with him sometimes. He'd say, come over for dinner after we get off work. So he'd come home from work, and I'd be with him, and hey, honey. I was about to say her name. I almost said it. But, you know, hey, I'm home, you know, whatever. And then he'd start talking. He'd go into all the stuff we did that day. And she'd just be like, really? Oh, my goodness. Tell me a little bit more. She never knew what he was talking about. He knew it, and she laughed, and they just laugh about it. But she was interested in it, you know. And the more they talked, the more she kind of understood. She didn't know everything he was saying about, you know, whatever it was he did, nor did she care, you know, about 4-inch conduits and triangles on a piece of paper or whatever. But she showed interest, so she loved him enough. And she was okay with that, you know, that she didn't, you know, despise him for that. She was all right with it. That was not a non-negotiable for her. You know.
Now, do you know if she had her own career? Did she do?
Yeah, later on she did. At first she didn't, but by this time that I'm talking about, she did. She had her own career, and she had a really good job. Too.
See, she had her own thing. It was just different, right? So it's not that they one was way educated and she wasn't educated at all. They were just on different paths in the education realm, and that makes a difference because we need our own individuality. You know, not every couple wants to do things different like them. Some couples want to do things very similar. Like for us, I think my opinion is that people in the arts, it's hard to live with somebody who is not artistic in some kind of way.
Oh yeah, if you're in the arts.
Yeah, I think because we're just a different breed. And so kind of moody, emotional type people a lot, and so it I don't know, I think it would be very weird to be married to somebody who's totally opposite from that. I don't know, but I'm sure it works for some people. I'm sure
for some people it does.
Yeah, for some people I'm sure it works, but you know, different strokes for different folks.
Yes.
Okay, moving on. Now these are things that we are considering danger signs or warning signs. If you're in a relationship or if you're, you know, getting to know somebody and they exhibit these traits, these are things to think about before you go on.
I don't know.
Consider is this I don't know.
Yeah.
So okay. If the person you're dating or in a relationship with only wants to see you behind closed doors, not having sex all the time, but like if you go over to their house or they just come over to your house, or if you go out of town, different places.
Yeah.
If that's the only time that you all are together, that's a warning sign.
It is a warning sign.
If that person isn't bringing you around their family or friends, or if they don't have any family or friends, wonder why.
Yeah.
That's something to think about. Like, why is it only just the two of us?
Right.
And no other people around.
Yeah, because at first you might be thinking, well, you just love me. I'm just your whole world.
Right.
But yeah, you got to think about, you don't have no friends?
Right.
What are your boys saying? What are your girls saying?
Right.
Whatever it is.
Something.
Have you told somebody about me?
Right. Church, family, work, friend, somebody.
Right.
Somebody.
Right. Yeah.
So it's something to consider. If you're with somebody and you found out that they just got out of a relationship.
Yeah. Are you the rebound?
Are you the rebound?
Yes.
That's hard. That can be very hard if you are the rebound, because that person, a lot of times, they don't know what they want. They're just hurting and trying to fill a void with another person.
Right.
So I think, well, in your estimation, how long, like if you get out of a relationship, what's a good time period to be out of a relationship before you start looking again?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's obviously different for everybody, but I think it has to be some amount of time. I mean, at least, just my estimation, at least some months.
Months.
Yes, 6 months.
Okay.
At the very least, to me.
Okay.
I think at the least.
Okay. So at least 2 seasons. The season is about 3 months.
That's good.
So
at least 2 seasons. Let 2 seasons go by.
Okay.
That's right. Season's a reason to change. That's right.
He has all the exes. I don't, so I don't know.
Oh, you got some exes now, right?
Nope.
I know
Not
one of
true.
them.
Not true.
I know one of them. Anyway.
Okay. I ain't never been with nobody who just got in a relationship. I ain't never had that kind of experience. But anyway, okay. Does the person you are looking to be with, do they always talk about their ex?
Their ex.
That's another warning sign.
With that rebound thing.
That they are not ready to be in a new relationship if they're always talking about what their ex did or how they made them feel.
And even positively or negatively.
Right.
If they're always talking about them negatively,
they're still connected.
They're still connected. You ain't ready.
Right.
You need to work that out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's warning signs. Warning. Abort. No. Okay.
Yes, that's right.
All right. Here are some things that we say. These are, things to consider, but you don't have to run away from.
Necessarily run from.
Don't run from the relationship just because this happens. Okay. If somebody does have an entry-level job, and you don't want to be with somebody that has an entry-level job, get to know them and then move on from there, because they may be a beautiful person who's working an entry-level job for right now. You never know. They could be turned into the CEO.
Right. That's right.
They could.
That's right. You never know.
And maybe there's somebody you can build with, instead of trying to just come in with somebody who has already established something and you just reaping the benefits. Maybe there's somebody that you can build with and grow together.
And I think that's the key, grow together, because we have a daughter who called me one day out of the blue and was saying she was, she's in her 20s, late 20s, and she was in a relationship with a guy, and she started talking about, well, Dad, I just don't know. He doesn't seem like he wants to do anything. He doesn't. So I said, you mean he doesn't have any ambition? He doesn't want to go anywhere? Where's he working? Well, he's between jobs. Well, what does he want to do? Well, he really doesn't know. Now, you in your late 20s.
Right.
So I said, listen, honey, I think you're answering your own question. And she was like, yep, I think you're right. Yeah. She's not somebody, because she was somebody who's a go-getter.
Yes.
She's like, let's do this. Let's go. Let's work. Let's make this money.
Yeah, she's the one I said, when I grow up, I want to be like her. Honestly, she's so together.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. Something else to not run away from is when you have disagreements. If you're in a relationship with somebody and you do have disagreements,
right, don't
necessarily run away, but let's work through those disagreements.
Right.
So what kinds of disagreements should we work through?
Well, I think even if you have an argument, sometimes people are like, oh, we had this big blowout argument, so forget it.
Yeah.
Forget it, And it's like, well, I think to me, in my opinion, you can let me know what you think. I think in my opinion, it's not about a big blowout argument, but it's about how often. And how, so if you're arguing 23 hours out of a 24-hour day, 6 days a week,
at all.
Then it's like, okay, what, we just, even if it's smaller, just little bickering all the time. Mm-hmm. I think that's a warning sign. But just a big argument, it's not the argument to me or the disagreement, it's how you deal with it and how you come out of it. Mm-hmm. Even if you say, well, I gotta go clear my head, I have to go clear my head, and you're able to come back, then I think that's something that you might not run from, because it's your reaction. Just like anything else in life, things happen, but it's how you react to it,
right?
And how, if you're both able to react to it, in my opinion.
Okay.
But I don't know what you think.
I think if you have arguments or disagreements and your aim is to hurt the other person.
Oh, yeah. That's...
Or to always prove them wrong, then you either need to seek some counseling or get out of the relationship, because nobody wants to be in a relationship where that other person is seeking to hit them at that trigger point.
Oh yeah, with mental abuse. I think, and that's
it's emotional abuse. So
emotional abuse.
Don't hit below the belt. If somebody discloses, if somebody is vulnerable with you, and then you turn that against them in an argument. Mm-hmm.
I think that's
run.
bad.
Run from that.
That is bad.
If you're not married already, get out of that.
That's bad. Because a relationship, you should be, again, I just reiterate again, I said it 27 times, so have you. I know we're not relationship experts. That's not where, but, relationship is the place you should be able to be the most vulnerable.
Yeah.
You should be able to talk about your mistakes and your failures and your fears without being laughed at or sarcasm, constant sarcasm. If you're not laughing together, if you're laughing together, because you can laugh at yourself, type of thing. Right. But you're belittled for being too sensitive.
Right.
I agree with you 100%.
Yes.
That's, run from that.
You should. If you're not married, run. And if you are married, go to counseling.
Yes.
Get some help.
Get some help for that.
Get some help if you can't work that out.
That is not good.
Builds up resentment. Okay. Yeah. Other things that you don't have to run from are some financial mistakes, because a lot of us are not taught financial literacy growing up. So we get to adulthood, we don't know what we're doing. Right. So just because somebody makes some financial mistakes, now I'm not saying they don't pay their bills. I'm saying
exactly.
Maybe they overspend.
They got bad credit and like it.
Yeah. Maybe their credit report is terrible and they don't care. We're not saying that. We're saying, okay, so they did go to put something on a credit card and it came back declined because they overspent. Okay, don't run from that situation, but sit down and say, okay, what can we do? Or what can you do? If you're not married, you don't have to, work it out with them, but encourage them to work it out, and learn some financial literacy together if you want to be with that person.
Yeah, because some of that could just be ignorance. And I don't mean that as a downer. I just mean I have been ignorant about a lot of things. I just didn't know or didn't understand money or whatever it is. Right. And maybe you want to.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So in your conversation, you have to see where that person's heart is concerning money, where their character is. Is it something that's important to them? Being financially aware, is that important to them? Or is living for the moment important to them?
Right.
I see that. I got a card. I'm going to get that.
Right. Right.
People who don't know how to put a delayed gratification.
Right.
But that's something not to necessarily run away from when it first comes up.
Yeah.
But to work through and see if you can work through it and see if you guys are going in the same direction where money is concerned. Because if you're not going in the same direction where money is concerned, it can be really terrible.
Finances kill a relationship.
In your relationship. Because I say one thing that I think most women need is stability financially. No matter where you are on the economic ladder, if you know that's where you are and you know how to manage the money on that level, it's okay.
Whatever level
whatever the level is okay. Mm-hmm. But you can't always wonder, did this get paid? Oh God, am I gonna get a late notice in the mail for this? That's terrible.
Yeah.
All right. Things to not run away from. You have the same faith, no matter what your faith is, you're the same faith, but you practice it differently.
Right.
So how does that look? If somebody is more orthodox than the other in their faith? Is that something you should run away from? We're saying not necessarily run away from it, but it is something to try to work through.
Yes.
Though, because
you shouldn't ignore it.
You should not ignore it, because it can, for either party, it can get on their nerves if the other person doesn't practice their faith the same way.
Yeah, if you have that value and that's built in you, whatever your faith, whatever that faith may be, that you said it. We were talking earlier, and you said, that's really part of you. That's who you are.
Yeah.
And so, if the other person, it says they're that, but they don't practice it the same way you do, that could cause a divide. That could cause a wedge.
Yes. It can cause a large wedge, because then you start thinking, well, does that person really believe the same way I do? If in their belief system they are allowed to do whatever, but I think that's wrong. Do they really believe the same way I do? So that goes down to some core value issues. So it's things to think about, not necessarily run away from, but at least to think about.
Yeah, exactly. Don't ignore it.
You have anything else? Okay. So if you are looking for the love of your life, one of the first things to have in place are your own core values. Be true to yourself and get to know yourself first. All right?
That's right.
If you're in a relationship and you're wondering if this is the one, then communicate your values with each other to see if you're a good match.
Yeah, communication.
We'll
do another podcast on that, won't we?
Yeah. Communication is key for everything.
Yeah.
All right? So that's our take on relationships and saving us. If you like what you heard, we do ask you to subscribe and to share this podcast with a friend. Thank you for watching. Bye.